Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford here, and welcome to day 26 of our 40-day fast. Today we're going to be reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 18, verses 1 through 18. After Jesus had said these things, he went out with his disciples across the Kidron Valley, where there was a garden. He and his disciples went into it. Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place because Jesus often met there with his disciples. So Judas took a company of soldiers and some temple police from the chief priests and the Pharisees and came there with lanterns, torches, and weapons. Then Jesus, knowing everything that was about to happen to him, went out and said to him, "Who is it that you're looking for?" "Jesus the Nazarene," they answered. "I am he," Jesus told them. Judas, who betrayed him, was also standing with them. When he told them, "I am he," they stepped back and fell to the ground. He asked them again, "Who are you looking for?" "Jesus, the Nazarene," they said. "I told you, I am he," Jesus replied. "So if you're looking for me, let these men go." This was to fulfill the words he had said, "I have not lost one of those you have given me." Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it, struck the high priest's slave, and cut off his right ear. The slave's name was Malchus. At that, Jesus said to Peter, "Sheathe your sword. Am I not to drink the cup my Father has given me?" Then the company of soldiers, the commander, and the Jewish temple police arrested Jesus and tied him up. First, they led him to Annas, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was high priest that year. Caiaphas was the one who had advised the Jews that it was advantageous that one man should die for the people. Meanwhile, Simon Peter was following Jesus, as was another disciple. That disciple was an acquaintance of the high priest, so he went in with Jesus into the high priest's courtyard. But Peter remained standing outside by the door. So the other disciple, the one known to the high priest, went out and spoke to the girl who was the doorkeeper and brought Peter in. Then the slave girl who was the doorkeeper said to Peter, "You aren't one of this man's disciples too, are you?" "I am not," he said. Now the slaves and the temple police had made a charcoal fire because it was cold. They were standing there warming themselves, and Peter was standing with them, warming himself. When we are presented with God's will for our lives, we are faced with a choice: to resist or to obey. This passage captures two opposing responses to God's will. One of complete surrender in Jesus, and one of resistance and fear in Peter. Jesus, knowing the immense suffering ahead, chooses to drink the cup the Father has given him. His obedience reflects absolute trust in God's plan, even when that path leads to the cross. There's no struggle or hesitation, only a quiet confidence that God's purposes are greater than the pain he is about to endure. Jesus models for us what it means to surrender fully, not because his road is easy, but because he trusts the one who leads him. In contrast, Peter struggles to accept the path laid before him. First, he takes matters into his own hands, drawing his sword to defend Jesus. Peter's reaction is rooted in earthly wisdom, fighting against what he cannot control or comprehend. When that fails, he turns to fear, denying his connection to Jesus. Peter's actions, though understandable, reflect our own resistance to God's will when it seems too hard or confusing. We often find ourselves responding like Peter, resisting God's plan by trying to take control or by retreating into fear. We may resist the cup God offers because it involves suffering, discomfort, or uncertainty. Yet, Jesus calls us to something greater, to trust in God's wisdom even when we do not understand, and to believe that his plan, however painful, is ultimately for our good. The challenge for us is to embrace the cup we are given. Like Jesus, we are invited to surrender our fears, our resistance, and our need for control, trusting that God's plan is not only wise, but also good. In that surrender, we find peace and purpose, even in the midst of suffering. Begin praying with Psalm 39, verse 7. Now, Lord, what do I wait for? My hope is in you.